I've been looking at the Deity Theos Lemo DLTX Bodypack transmitter and the Plug-on DXTX transmitter with interest. But because they are not currently being sold in America due to legal issues, that's what Deity themselves have said, it's legal issues. That's either a Zaxcom patent, who've denied any involvement, or it's a federal frequency issue. Regardless, there's very little content about how these devices work or any quirks with them. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and publish here all the tips and tricks I've learned, all the lessons I've learned, the journey I've kind of gone on. I was trying to make it one big all-encompassing video, but it was ending up at 45 minutes, which is a real long time, and no one really wants to watch all that. So I've split it up. There's a 10-minute unboxing. There's hopefully going to be this, which is a 10-minute lessons learned, all the tips and tricks I've learned. And then there'll be a sort of 25-minute journey, how I learned all these tips and tricks. So I'm going to split this video up into sections as well to try and help those who are in a hurry. So I'm going to do a wee bit of a preamble, maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes, about why Theos is right for me, why I became interested in it. And then I'll move on to the tips and tricks. I'll probably try and do all the external stuff first, and then I'll try and move on more to the internal stuff, the menu systems, and show you some of the things there. So if you want to skip ahead, do so now. I'm going to talk about why I feel Theos is right for me. So I had a Zoom F3 field recorder, and a Shure SM57 and 58. Absolutely love those microphones, but I really wanted one piece of equipment. Audio isn't my reason for trying to do this. My reason is Lego. I want to document the creation of my Lego city. So I wanted one piece of audio equipment that could do it all. It could fit all my needs. And the Zoom F3 doesn't do that. So half the time I'll be at a table building Lego, hopefully having discussions with like-minded individuals. And the rest of the time I'll be in the city and I'll need a lavalier mic as I move around. I did try suspending a condenser microphone in the middle of the attic, but it just, as you walked away from it, obviously the proximity effect, I was much further away at the ends of the attic, and no matter how I compressed it or anything, it just wasn't going to work. So I need a lav on me as I'm walking around the Lego city. So I wanted a piece of equipment that could have a lav on it and could do a desk mic. And the Zoom F3 can do that, but I also wanted to transmit the sound to my camera. I was a Boy Scout, always be prepared, and I wanted to be able to transmit the sound to my camera so that it was installed on the Bodypack transmitter and on the camera. So Theos seemed to fulfill that need. Really interested in the first Theos kit that came out. It was £1,000 or £900 here in the UK, which seemed quite reasonable. I was quite excited about that. But as I've mentioned, I'm a real amateur. Gain staging is not my forte. I managed to clip stuff just yesterday, so I was really looking for 32-bit float. Which the Theos does have. But even with that, the original kit that was released, the DBTX I think it's called, you could clip that because there was no analog limiter. So the DLTX, the Lemo Bodypack transmitter, and the DXTX, the plug-on transmitter, do have an analog limiter, so they should be much harder for a complete novice like myself to clip. So I purchased myself two DLTXs. So the idea was, again, Boy Scout, I wanted to wear two different lavaliers with two different mechanisms. So Rode Lavalier 2 that has the sort of pointy out lavalier mechanism, and the Deity W.Lav Pro, which has the more sort of Sankos D11 very narrow head on it. So I was going to wear two DLTXs, and then I was going to use the Lemo to XLR converter, which is designed for boom poles, to power, in my mind, my Shure SM58 and SM57 microphones. Unfortunately, what I found out very quickly was that the Lemo Bodypack doesn't have enough gain, nowhere near enough gain to power those microphones. And when you amplified them, you couldn't have done any live streaming. It would have had to be recorded and then post-production. And when you amplified the sound, you got a lot of self-noise. So I returned the Lemo Bodypacks, and in a Reddit thread that I'll put in the product description, someone mentioned that they had the DXTX and it suffered from the same issues. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to use any dynamic microphones with either, despite the DXTX claiming it could do dynamic. So I got rid of my Shure SM58 and 57 with a little bit of a whimper and a cry, and I picked myself up a Rode NT1 5th generation that has the USB-C 32-bit float on it itself, as well as the XLR connector so I could plug it into the DXTX transmitter. I've also got myself, as you can see here, two small diaphragm pencil condensers, the Rode M5s. They're cheap and cheerful, but I want to try and spread the technology. So have a large diaphragm, have a small diaphragm. And the idea is to try and boom these out of shot. So what are some of the things that I've learned? So what I've learned for the United Kingdom, I suppose what I should probably start off with, which is, I think is sort of more unusual, and I've not seen a lot of people doing this, which is what really inspired me to make this video, was that I came across a video from Deity themselves, where they showed the 5-pin stereo plug-on converter. So what that led me to believe was that I could have a stereo pair of one transmitter. So I could do my 2 Lavs, and instead of having 2 DLTXs, which is quite an expense, or 2 DXTXs, I could actually just have one and power both Lavs off it. And likewise, I'd be able to have, when I'm at the desk, again, be prepared, I'd like either the NT1 on my desk and the M5 boomed out of range, or the NT1 on my desk and a Lav fitted, so I always have a backup. So there's not that much content about the 5-pin that I've seen online, which is what inspired me to make this to help others. And there's some quirks with that. So I got this, it comes fitted with the 3-pin XLR I've got in my hand right now. I removed that on video, it'll be in the Journey one, and I've fitted the 5-pin. You'll also see here that I've fitted the boom pole adapter. And I'll explain why in a second. So, as you can see here, or hopefully see here, oops, I'm going to knock one of these over. I want to wear the DXTX with the Lavaliers while I am walking around the attic, walking around the city. So I found this, it came originally like this, so we have a photo of it, I took a photo, and it's designed for holding drills to workies' waistbands. So you put a clip over your waistband or your belt, and you can hook this into your drill. So I unscrewed that, it was just using these screws here, so flat on one side, screw on the other. So I unscrewed it, and I now have a flat surface to work from. I'm intending to drill 2 holes and fit this DXTX like this. Now I had hoped that this flat bit here was going to be a bit lower, because I need to obviously screw through. But I'm going to trim down the side so it's just exactly the dimensions of the DXTX, and I'm going to screw it to that, hopefully with something easily removable, so I can quickly take it off and put it on my desk stand, or put it on this. Okay, so that's why that's there. The other bits of kit that I've got laid out for you is to explain how I'm using it with Lavs. So using the standard 3-pin, you could just get a 3-pin to 3.5mm converter like this. Rode do a cheap one, so do Deity I think it is, and there's no mechanics in it. It just uses the voltage of the DXTX itself. However, when you turn the DXTX into the stereo, you lose the ability to put out 5 volts. Okay, so that was one of my lessons learned. It took me a while. So when you fit the 5-pin XLR stereo converter, originally it can do off, line in 5 volts and 48 volts. When you fit that converter, you lose that 5 volt ability. You cannot output 5 volts with this on, and I'll show you that later. Another lesson I learned, which is key to the United Kingdom, really, is that there's a number of frequencies when you set up the app. However, upon investigation, and DT do say this on our site, I'll put the link down below, the only frequency you can actually use is this T8 one here, the 863, and you can't even use up to 868. You can only use 863 to 865 in the United Kingdom, license free. So if you want to use any other licenses, there are a couple of other bands. I'll put them in the description because I don't know them off the top of my head here. We can probably look in the Bodypack transmitter. If you want to use them, it's a license of 84 UK pounds a year. So with that frequency, it means that you use this template to cut your aerial to the right length. Okay, so there is the receiver. So one side is the receiver, and you can see it lines up, and it advises you put the blue cap on it, and then you flip it over and it's got the transmitter, and you cut that and again put the blue cap on it. So for the UK, you're looking for T8 only, unless you're willing to pay the license. Okay. So I can't remember how I actually mentioned that there. So you lose the 5 volts. So the Rode VXLR Pro and the VXLR Plus change 48 volt phantom power down to the 5 volts required for the Lavalier. So I've got 2 of these. So when I'm going to wear it on my back with this on my belt, I'll need to have 2 of these clipped as well, which I do have. Okay. Let me see, what else have I learned? So I would thoroughly encourage you, if you're worried, if you're having problems, is to check the mode, because that caught me out about 3 different times, I'm embarrassed to say. So when I first got it and I plugged it in, I was getting absolutely no signals. And I was really concerned, worried, thought I'd got a faulty unit or I'd broken it somehow, and it wasn't. It ships, as I say, the modes with a 3-pin adapter. It ships in off, line in, 5 volts or 48 volts. And it ships in the off mode, which I found really bizarre. So when I checked that, put 48 volts on it, it worked fine and got levels. Likewise, after I did the firmware update, it reset it again and it changed the mode. So again, I was worried that the firmware had bricked my device. When I checked, it had changed the mode again, and that's why I wasn't getting a signal. And then the third and final time was when I changed from the 3-pin to the 5-pin converter. It once again changed it. I'd put it into 48 volts because I'd been testing my NT1 on it. I fitted the converter, it turned it back into line in, I believe it was. So I wasn't getting a signal, and again I thought I'd broken it. It's quite a small fragile connector. Thought I'd maybe broken it, misfitted it, but it wasn't. It was down to that change in the mode. So really check that mode, and I'll show you in the menu where that is. The other thing that seemed to cause me a lot of problem, I'm really not sure why now, because I believe I was doing it right, was I was wanting to check with a multimeter that I was doing stuff right. So I got my multimeter here, I set it to DC voltage, and I was plugging it in and I wasn't getting stuff. So I can only assume I used the wrong pins somehow. So pin 1 is always the shield, pin 2 and 3 are the hot and the cold pin respectively. So with 1 in the shield always, you should be able to get a voltage. So right now we are, which are we on? We're on the left channel, which is at 21 volts. So I believe that's probably why I'm getting 28.8. So if I up the voltage, which one am I on? Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Let's try that. Okay, I thought that was going to go up there, I have to say. As usual, so it might be interesting. So with the microphone in, it changes the voltage. I'm going to try that with the NT1 on. That was a concern that one of the audio suppliers had for me. They said that basically with the they felt that it would half it with the stereo pair to being 24 volts each, and while the M5s can operate quite happily on 24 volts, the NT1 requires the full 48. Okay, let's see what else I need to tell you. So multimeter, basically 1 always goes in the shield pin, which is pin 1, both on the 5-pin and the 3-pin connectors, and the other 2 is how you're going to get your voltage. You can't turn off the analog limiter, that's another restriction, and there's no headphone socket. And the final one, which I only found out last night, is the transmitter while it will record both signals perfectly, so I can record this and it will create a stereo track that you can use into your DAW, it only transmits one of the connections. So what I naively assumed would happen was that this receiver would only receive the DXTX. It wouldn't be able to receive, you know, another DBTX or a DLTX. It would only receive this one pack, even though it had two connections, because there was two signals, a stereo left and right. But what it actually does is in the menus you choose. So I can prove that to you. So right now you should be able to see that one of the M5s is set at 21 dB and the other is set at 42. And as you can see while I'm talking, what happens is that the meters from one obviously is far greater than the other. So right now if we have a look at the D2RX, the receiver, you can see that I'm getting the really small signal. So what that means is that it is currently receiving the signal from the left channel. So you can see here as I'm talking, right channel's got 42 dB, left channel's got 21. I'm quite far away, so we're getting a really small signal. And likewise, the D2RX is getting a small signal. So how we change that, and I say this is only found out today, is in the menu, where you go to the mode, the TX mode, there's a TX, you can see here it's off, line 1, line 2, or 48 volts 1 or 2. I couldn't understand what the 48 volt 1 or 2 was for, and what it's for is it's actually for setting which one gets transmitted. So right now we're on 48 volt 1, and that means it is sending the signal for the left channel. So if we set it to 48 volt 2, sorry, my arm's a little bit wobbly, I'm going to make folks seasick. So it reboots, whenever you change the mode, it reboots the transmitter. And what it'll do again, if I can focus, is it'll come back up on 0 dB. So what we'll do again is we'll do exactly the same thing. We will set it to 21 on the first channel. Again, this is a really interesting thing. I think it does show you this on the Deity video. But how you change from one to the other just again is you press and hold the tick. So you can see right now the tick is beside the left channel with 21 dB. If I press and hold it, it'll flick over to the other and I can adjust again on the other. So now if we move the right channel up to 42 dB again, now what happens is, so we've got exactly the same as it was before. We've got low gain on the left and it's getting a small signal. We've got high gain on the right and we're getting a big signal. And now if we go to the receiver, you'll see that because we've done 48 volt 2, it's now picking up the signal from the right hand mic. So you can record stereo to the track, but you can't broadcast it. You can only broadcast one. You've got to choose which one. The other thing that's really quite important, and I don't think it's documented anywhere, it does kind of make sense when you think about it, but it would be really good before I started this journey if I knew, was that when you fit the 5-pin XLR connector, you lose the ability to do 32-bit float. So if I go and find record mode, and I try and change the 24-bit mode, you'll see I can't. With the 3-pin XLR connector, that says 32-bit float there. With this one, it doesn't. You cannot change the local Bodypack transmitter to 32-bit when you have a stereo pair fitted. Let's see, have I mixed anything else? Ken probably goes right saying you've already seen the menu, but you can't run like 5 volts on one pair or line in on one pair and 48 volts on the other. Whatever you set is for the entire transmitter. You can't have the left channel be line in and the right channel be 48 volt condenser. Okay, so I think that is possibly all I've got to show right now. The only other thing I'll quickly show you is the boom pole converter. So at the top we have frequency, so let me see, will it show me the ranges for the UK? No, it's just showing me the 265. Why is it not? Oh, it is. Or is that all the ranges? I think that's all the... I can't tell if that's the UK ranges or all the ranges. But regardless, if you use any of these other ranges, it's £84 a year in the United Kingdom to use them. Again, we've already covered on the main device. Time sync, record mode, we've already covered. So you can have a low cut filter. So it's the same as all the rest, 75 Hz, 100, 150 Hz. Limiter, as I say, you cannot turn that off. There's no way of adjusting that, which makes it really weird that they've actually got the option there at all and you can't do anything about it. You can change the name of the transmitter, you can turn your LED off, you can wipe the SD card, and you can set it as a reader. Okay, so that's all the lessons learned. The last thing I will quickly show you, and I'll need to be silent because it's on the back of my Rode. This is the boom pole converter here. So it's screwed on. When you're fitting the transmitter, you've got to do these one at a time. I'll try and show you as best I can. So you can't screw one in all the way because it pinches it too far. You've got to screw one in a wee bit, then the other, then the one, then the other. I'll try to even get this a better angle so you can see what's happening. There you go. That's kind of better so you can see that gap there. Okay, so I'm going to take that out again. Mate it up to the surface. When I try and screw it all the way in, it blocks about here. So what you've got to do is screw a little bit of one, screw a bit of the other, screw a bit of one, screw a bit of the other, until it's fully tight. Okay, so it's my intention to try and get similar screws for my waist bracket. So you can see here that they are captive screws. They've got this wee C-clip here to stop them falling off. And again, there's nothing on the back of the boom pole converter, so it's actually threaded into this adapter here. Okay, so that is every lesson I've learned. I'm taking you through the menus. If you've got any questions, reach out in the comments and I'll try my best to cover them. Other than that, thanks for your time. I hope someone finds this useful. There's going to be a link for a Google Drive in it, and that will have all the recordings I've kind of done. So I've done some test recordings on the NT1. I've done some test recordings on the M5s, and I've done some test recordings on the Lavs. So if you want to check those test recordings, see if it suits your needs, you're more than welcome. I will say that the preamps I find are incredibly noisy. On the Reddit thread, the user felt that it got noisy after 6 dB of gain. Other users have reported that about 30 is a sweet spot. So 30 dB of gain, you're okay. Anything above that, certainly at the limit at 42 dB of gain, it gets quite noisy. Okay, really hope that's helped someone, really hope I saved someone all the hassle I had, and I'm now looking forward to just using the system.